oh my God, Delaney, never got to play with.
Yeah.
I never got to get to know personally. Talk about America's sweetheart. Like, she's just, how does she do it? She's so like rustic with like her like cargo pants and like her like sparkling blue eyes. Someone was like, yeah, Delaney eats crickets for fun. I was like, what? For fun? And that the fact that she won the gross food challenge, like,
Yeah.
she's badass. She is badass in a way that, like, in such a casual way. Like, a lot of times people who are that, in my eyes, I think like Delaney's like wicked cool. Like, she's somebody, I'm nothing like Delaney, right? And so I just look at her as like, oh my God, you're so cool. And she's not cocky about it, at least not what I saw. She was just like, yeah, this is like me. Like, yeah, of course I scaled the freaking tree and hung that thing up. Like, and I eat cricket for fun and I camp alone. What?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
she does. She was like camping alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She, and when she played that, that idol, she's brilliant. You can tell she's very smart. I wish I got time to talk to her. At the end of the game, I gave her a hug. I congratulated her on making it so far. And I was like, I wish I got to work with you. And she was like, I would have voted you out immediately. She said, what the hell? Yeah. But anyways, I'm still a huge Delaney fan. So unbelievable. Like, congratulations to her. It's wicked cool.
I don't know. Well, I don't know how you identify if you're lesbian, but there's never been a lesbian winner of Survivor. And you too, I was rooting for you and Delaney so hard. Like, give me a lesbian.
Please, like, put a lesbian on the pedestal for once.
I felt like Delaney, being somebody that I didn't know going into this game, who I bonded with from the very beginning, and I saw her progression of gameplay. Like, she started off as like the Elizabeth or the Sugar, the Colleen, right? And then suddenly I don't even know who to compare to her. Very unique. It was a very unique game that she played. I want to say Parvati, but like Parvati didn't start off sweet. Parvati started off very flirty and very ridiculous. And so, Delaney, showed her cards as she needed to. And I felt like she played a very stellar game.
She is like, she probably has the most like life experience out of anybody here. Like, she just has done so many weird, crazy things. She's like, but like at the same time, she's so like engaging to talk to. She doesn't like dominate the space, despite having so many stories to tell. And she like it's so hard to like have like a moment of awkwardness with her because she's just so naturally gifted socially. And I mean, like her eyes and her smile, like, it's just like, how does that not draw you in? And like at the same time, she's just so able to relate to people. Like, one of the best challenge people out there, if not the best. So I mean, like, there's not enough words or time to talk about Delaney. Okay. I'm sad we didn't connect as much as other people.
Taylor, and you are listening to the Surviving Maine Podcast. Today, we are talking to the runner-up of Surviving Maine Season 3, the very rootable and charismatic Delaney. Here is my interview with Delaney. Delaney, so good to see you.
Hi, good to see you too.
Yes. So let's talk about your experience on Surviving Maine Season 3. I want to know first, how did you find out about Surviving Maine and why did you apply?
Yeah, so my friend mentioned me in a comment. I think Eliza posted something on the later end that you guys had needed another, like 2 more women to cast. And my friend mentioned me in a comment on Facebook, because she always hear me talking about being on Survivor, and she's like, "Oh my God, this is in Maine." And so I watched a couple episodes of the previous season. And I think it took me, I mean, I still watched the rest of the season. I think it took me maybe half an hour of the first one to just be like, yeah, I'll do this. So, yeah. And then I just sent her in a video, and rest was history, I guess.
Yeah, nice. Okay, cool. So you're a Survivor fan. Are you like a super fan? You just like casually watch? Have you seen every season?
I think before I played Surviving Maine, I would have called myself a super fan. And then getting to know super fans, I was like, oh no, I like Survivor.
These people are crazy.
Yeah,
I have a
compared
life.
to other friends, I was like, oh, I'm absolutely berserk for Survivor. And then meeting everybody Surviving Maine, I was like, oh, I guess I watch it when it's on.
Yeah, yeah.
But I still love it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let's talk about you arrive at the property and you are probably seeing people. You were part of the last group that walked up, so you were there for a long time. Do you have any memories from that hour or so that you were there?
Yeah, I think I might have been one of the last people to drive in, because who was there waiting? It was Will and who walked with me?
I know this. It was Will, Samantha, Trisha.
Oh, I think it was just Will and Trisha and I that
And
walked.
Sam.
And
And
Sam.
Sam.
Yeah, and Sam. And yeah, so I pulled in thinking I was on the earlier side, but I was like last one showing up.
Oh no.
But no, it was interesting. I didn't know if they were on my team or not, and I had never done one of these before, so I didn't know if the game started once Liza said start, or what that looked like. So I just did what I was told and just sat by myself until I was called to do otherwise. But yeah, it was nice having a few faces to kind of lead my way into meeting a whole group of people. So I think it kind of made the situation a little bit easier, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if these things are ever hard for you. Like, you are so social and friendly. So I don't believe that it would have been hard for you.
Thank you. That's really sweet.
I mean, so no episodes have come out while we're doing this interview. It's before anything's happening. So you don't know like things people were saying about you. You were seen as a really social threat by a lot of people early, like hour one. Yeah. But then other people didn't mention the threat part, and they were just like, I love Delaney. She's amazing, so
brilliant.
yes, so good job. So unless you have anything else to talk about before this, do you want to start talking about how you formed your main alliance?
Yes, sorry about that. Yes, I do think it's hilarious though that people you say in hour one, because I remember you were interviewing me right when I got there, and I was like, what I'm going to try to do is ease back on my socializing and kind of play a quiet game. And I think it's hilarious that right off the bat, it's so true. It's really hard to hide who you are and what your natural skills are when you're out there. It just kind of happens. Let's see, my alliance. Yeah, I think I played. Our tribe was really quiet. No.
Go on. Tell me more.
Oh, okay. I was like, no.
Compared to the other tribe, I would say the opposite, but go ahead.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I guess I didn't, like I said earlier, I didn't quite know when it really began and when, politicking and strategy and groups would start to form. I had no idea what that would look like. I'm very used to like being in a campy environment with people. And so that felt pretty normal to me. So just kind of having us just get to know each other and play icebreaker games and sit by the fire. No one's talking strategy. We all stayed very close to camp I think for the most part. And yeah, I think we were just kind of trying to get a feel. Well, I'll just speak for myself. I was just trying to get a feel for everybody. And because I didn't want to jump at any like false opportunities or something that would seem strong to begin with. I really wanted to wait it out because I knew, I don't know, is how I would be playing the long game, I guess.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, for sure.
I know I said this to Will, so this won't be a shock, but when Will approached me right off the bat, that was what I was trying to avoid with people. So when he approached me right away, I was like, aha, and this is how I know, like, this is a personality that I don't think I would work well with for this game because it was a little too eager for me. And I think I saw Jess she was on the quieter side. Mm-hmm. And same with Trisha. I originally really wanted to work with Trisha, and we did for like a while, but
it was up until the swap. It seemed like the three of you and Andy were the four that were gonna go the long haul.
Yeah.
You were the first alliance that formed in the whole game, actually.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, I knew Jess right when I met Jess. I was like, that's an easy yes.
That's so cute. She said the same thing about you. That's so cute.
Oh, yes.
You'll see in the first episode. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. She just has this confidence about her, and she's so smart, and she's just somebody that I think I'd look up to in like the normal world, and someone that I would like to kind of like absorb a lot of their knowledge just about life and all that. So I was like, oh yeah, I think I would just enjoy spending my time with you and strategizing with you, and it felt like a good pick. Andy was, I like, obviously so charismatic, so hilarious, so easy to be around him, so that just felt really natural. But there's so much more there, and I feel like I was trying to pinpoint that when I met him. But again, I didn't want to jump at anything. But I was really flattered when he said he wanted to work with me, because that I was like, oh, cool. We're both feeling, it's such an awkward thing. It's like worse than making friends as adults. It's like that, but like magnified. Oh, it's crazy. And so when he said that, I was like, oh my God, me. And I think that those were the relationships that I really wanted to go with. It was people who I felt like there was like a mutual respect there, and that I felt like honored to work with in a way. I was like, okay, this feels really good. So I was, definitely basing it off of like gut instinct, I guess. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was, I don't know what else.
I'm curious. I kind of want to hear more. And I know you do not like talking shit about people. I know that for sure from all your confessionals. And I'm not asking you to do that, but like with Will, he really wanted to work with you, and you're saying like that's a personality you knew you wouldn't work well with. But and you know, throughout the first couple of days of the game, it was pretty clear like you were more hesitant, and like I'm like, it's good that he likes me and he could be a number for me, but I don't know about that, right? And Will thought he had a really tight three with you and Andy. He thought like you were that's the three.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about your thoughts on that. Yeah,
totally. I don't want it to seem like I wouldn't work well with his personality necessarily, because I think if we were to go out for lunch and grab some beers, like we could work well in all sorts of ways, right? But I really think because I was playing around with the idea of working with him, obviously, like right off the bat. And we did, in a sense, like we helped each other out for a little bit. I just knew I wasn't going to go long term with him. And I did know he was kind of a number. but it was the eagerness. It was like coming up to me right off the bat. Cause I also know I'm pretty good at reading people, but I think it's because I know how I'm perceived. So it helps me, or in the flip, I'm not too sure, but I very much know that I come across as like easy to talk to. I know I'm like cheery little elf most of the time. Like I get that. And so I know that that type of personality allows people to feel a little bit more like settled with, or I don't know what the right word is for that. But so when he approached me, it was almost, and I'm not trying to sound conceited, but it was almost kind of like, I get why you'd want to, and I get why that seems like an attractive pairing and like a strategic pairing. But for me, I was like, and what he was saying, he's like, yeah, just like right off the bat seems like a good idea. And I was like, no, I know, but I was like, it was just too much too soon. And so very flattered, but also like I didn't think that somebody acting that quickly was making a good call for themselves, because they only know the only thing that he was getting from me was what I was putting out there for like the first little bit of that day. So
yeah,
and I don't think that was a good judgment call on his end, and I didn't want to work with somebody that wasn't making a good judgment call.
Wow. I would say that's very astute.
Yeah.
I mean, he did the same thing with Trisha and Andy, and Trisha was also like, why does this guy want to work with me? He doesn't know me. Like, that's what she was saying. And so, yeah, maybe his eagerness was a bit too much. He's a little OTT. I love Will, but you know, yeah, maybe if he dials it back a little bit, he could do better next time. Okay.
Totally.
I also want to ask about Mike, because Mike also thought he had a really good connection with you. And he brought it back to the moment when everyone's trying to make the camp on the path. And then you go into the woods and he's with you. And he talks about how, and none of this is in the episodes, it's just a lot of confessionals. He talks a lot about how he was like listening to you and trying to make you feel good because he trusts that you go camping all the time. And like, so he was like, I know Delaney likes me now because I told everyone to listen to her about where we should put our campsite. But it never, and it did seem like it was kind of like the same as Will for you. Like you were like, I don't know if I want to work with him, but maybe. What did you think about Mike?
Oh God, I love Mike. Yeah. And similar to Jess, where he has this, like, he definitely has this wisdom about him, but he's so sassy too. He's so fun to be around, and like, I love his quick-wittedness. And so I was super attracted to just being around him. And I was so thankful for, he was giving me like these little cookies of confidence in that first, like when we were setting up camp, I was like, wow, I actually really needed that. Cause again, it's so awkward. You don't know when to speak up. And when I do watch Survivor, it's always the people that make a big deal about their voice being heard day one, who people are like, you get them out of here. Yeah. So part of me was like, okay, let's just drown in the rain then. I don't want to say anything. But I was also like, no, I think if I have the skills, I should say something. So, no, Mike was really helpful with giving me space to kind of figure out how to let my voice be heard. And so I was really thankful for that. And I think I didn't know how I felt about us going long term. I think until it was like later on when we had switched camp. When we had switched camp, or during the merge, I think.
Yeah.
So later on where I was like, okay, I think I've kind of weighed my pros and cons with other people, and I felt stronger with him. Because when I think back to what my confessionals probably sound like, I feel like most of them are like, everything's going well. I could do this or I could do this.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah, which is like my life. I'm like, well, but yeah, I was definitely unsure about where I was going with him until a little bit later on. And I was seeing how other people were kind of feeling about him, and I was just like, no, I think it would just be beneficial for me right now just to kind of cut that loose. And I didn't feel aligned with him with every vote leading up to that. So like I had a few other people where we were just like every single time we made sure we talked, we made sure that we were eye to eye on everything. And with Mike, it was like, yeah, we were there, but it wasn't as tight with him as it was with other people. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So I don't want to keep like asking you questions if I'm holding you back from saying anything else. So do you want to just do your diary of the game from wherever you want to start?
Oh God.
Never mind. I'll keep asking.
Yeah, keep asking me questions.
Okay, so I actually do want to ask about the first vote that you guys do as a band tribe. Okay, because everyone was pretty much on the same page. But you were the first one to say the name, right? That hey, I think I want to know if this is real, because you said it to someone, but you never said it in a confessional. So I want to know if you actually wanted to target Sam because it was just easy and you didn't want to feel bad about targeting anyone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I saw an easy way out with this one because of her comment about knowing somebody on production. I didn't even know that she had done the game before. But when she made a comment, because that was the first thing she said to Will and Trish and I when we were walking in, was that she knows somebody on production, and
Liza is her best friend. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even think
she didn't
Smith
say that.
made that comment. No, I think it was just like, oh, my friend on production has asked me to do it or whatever. And we're all like, okay. And I think I stored that away, not knowing that I was storing it away.
Yeah.
And then when it came up, when it came time for us to vote, we didn't have a reason to vote out anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we had been sitting around camp all sharing stories and fun facts and just getting to know each other. And there was really no other bells or red flags were going off for anybody. And I felt she was also the only one I hadn't, oh no, not the only one. One of the only ones that I really hadn't talked any game with, really, up until the last minute. And then I felt really bad because she asked me straight out, she's like, are you voting for me? And I was like, no. And I'm like, oh, the lying begins.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt horrible. Yeah, I think it was, I didn't want to go home and I didn't want to put a target on my back for anybody else. And it was the only bit of information that I think we had that pointed to Sam going home, because there really wasn't any other reason to vote her out.
There wasn't. Yeah.
No.
But she had made it clear, like, I don't think she said it to anyone else, but she said it in confessionals with me several times. Like, I don't care if I'm voted out first. I'll just be back with production helping with the game. And I was like, please stop saying that. Like, please play.
I do remember, now that you say that, actually, I do remember a few comments that made the game feel very casual to her. More casual than, I mean, of course it's a kind of a casual game for everybody because it's a game, but it felt more casual for her.
Like she wasn't as invested in playing, right? Yeah. So the problem then becomes that that second day, she is now invested. And so she gets really upset because she's like, oh my God, no one's talking to me. I'm going to get voted out. Oh no. And she starts crying. And at the same time that's happening, Dan and Will are having this weird drama because Dan was trying to get people to vote out Will. It was so funny. And you guys all seem to start thinking like, okay, maybe we should vote out Dan, but it never happened. So do you know what, was it Mike that was pushing? Because Mike was pushing really hard against that idea of voting out Dan.
Yeah.
And Jess too, because Jess knew Dan thought of Jess as his number one.
Oh.
Mm.
Very interesting. I knew that I kind of had I was more in with Dan than I was with Samantha. Dan and I had gone on a walk, I think beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And he made a comment about how he was like, I think we could work well together and all that. And I was like, yeah. And I liked Dan right out the gate. I really liked Dan. Nothing really came with that we never talked strategy.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I definitely had more in with him than I did with Samantha. And I remember the back and forth with it being possibly him or possibly Sam. I thought it would make more sense to go Sam because I think it would have had less backlash for everybody. But at the same time, I don't remember, maybe if I look back on it, it'll look different. I don't remember feeling passionate about saving Dan in that moment. I just think it would have been a better call to send Sam home.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so after this, you guys are winning a lot, but then it's time for the swap, and it's pouring rain, and Mike and Will are the team captains. So what were you thinking in that moment? Did you care like which side you ended up on, or what was going on in your head?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to go to Mike's side just because I felt more in with Mike, but I also know that, it's so horrible. I also know that like I was pretty much in with Will at the same time. And he, I think, looked at me as like maybe even like a number 2, possibly. So totally made sense that I went over there. I think I would have liked to play a little bit more game with Mike.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I was the first one he called.
Yes.
Over. Yeah, which I was like, okay. I was like, all right, this is what we're doing. But then I knew he was going to be asking me questions about who we should call over, so that also kind of made me feel like I had a little bit of pull in the situation. So
did you suggest him calling over Trisha, or was that his call?
He checked in with me, and I said Trisha. I think I threw out a few names, and
because I think so, yeah, because Jess was chosen by Mike next, and then it was either Trisha or Dan left from your tribe. Yeah,
and I think I definitely would have gone with Jess.
Yeah.
But I also know that Trish and I were on good terms, and Will also really liked Trish. So that was an easy, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Okay, Trisha also was sad because she wanted to be on Mike's team. I think because she had a better relationship with Mike and Andy. So,
man, I will.
You know what? Mostly the whole Trisha thing. Mostly that's Dan's fault for having her name get thrown out there, and so she didn't know who to trust. So she like just could not ever see beyond that and trust Will after that. So
interesting.
Whatever.
I am so curious about Dan's game. When I look back to there are so many times where I was like, what? Like how? Or it would come up in conversation. Oh, well, Dan said this. I'm like, Dan said this why and where and how? Like for what? Like it seemed, and I'm sure there was so much strategy for me though. So many of the comments just seemed like they were out of left field.
Yeah.
And it was another one of those moments when we were playing the hammer game, and I think I was the first one he hit. Not that I was like, oh my God, or maybe not the first one, but when he hit me, I was like, didn't we just talk about where he it was just so funny. I don't know. So I wonder if I'll see more patterns when I'm watching it, but I'm also like, what is happening?
You have some confessionals about Dan later that I included in the episodes, and those are correct. Then I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Interesting. All right.
Okay.
I'm so excited to watch.
Okay, so Now the Azaban tribe is losing 2 in a row and just getting out the former Miko tribe members. Boom, boom, boom. And then the next day, you guys. Oh, do you want to talk about the spaghetti dinner? Actually, do you want to talk about? Oh, yeah, we know we have to talk about that because you and Mary Ellen caused all this drama. Delaney, let me tell you, when I went back to those tapes, in the episode itself, it seems like a really long time. Bro, I cut out 10 fucking minutes of you and Mary Ellen standing there going, oh, should we pick? So who should we pick?
10 minutes?
10 fucking minutes. And everyone's standing there like, oh my God, this is bizarre. What's going on?
Oh, wow.
It was so awkward. It's the funniest thing. It's the funniest thing.
That's insane to me. I think I blacked out. I don't know. That was horrible. Mary Ellen, I love you, but that was one of the worst. It was such a horrible moment. I was like, this is exactly what you do not do.
Yeah. So we didn't have any audio of you guys. So none of us actually knew what was going on. So
okay.
Tell me what happened. Which of you was like, oh, should we say someone else instead of Will? Who was it? I'm
blaming Marianne. I'm throwing all the blame on Mary. I love her. Yeah, so we obviously decided during the game that we were taking both the guys because that was the decision made. And then we're standing there and she throws me this curveball. She's like, well, what about Trisha? She hasn't eaten. And I was like,
holy shit.
And I was like, no, we already, and she's like, well, I feel so bad. And I was like, no, I was like, and I think I can't blame her for all this. I did say a few times, I was like, well, yeah, I mean, she didn't eat. And
apparently you guys had like when you were deciding who would sit out, someone like kind of offhandedly said, okay, Trisha, you're sitting out. So if one of us wins, we'll choose you.
Yes. Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah.
Yes, it did happen because she was like, well, we told her that we'd take her in and she hasn't eaten and we already told her this. And of course, like I was like, yeah, that is a thing. And I was like, well, we can't go back on it. And I totally cannot blame her for everything because we were kind of like, oh my God, this is horrible. She hasn't eaten. And we did say something, but then we also promised them. So it was kind of like this double promise situation happening. And then I just kept saying afterwards, like, we can't go back.
Yeah.
And
then, according to her, she tries to get you to take Justin. Do you remember this?
Oh.
She said, Delaney, shut it down. Like,
that's why it was so long. It was like this like we're just going down the line of people. Oh Lord. I don't exactly remember what her reasoning was for wanting to take Justin. It might have been because he had just kind of maybe that was after he got blindsided.
No.
Oh no, it wasn't. No. It was just for funsies.
Yes. This was the first challenge of the second. Shit. Yeah, the second challenge of the swap.
After the swap.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the reasoning was for Justin, but I definitely
she liked him. She liked him. He was her number one. So, like at that time. So,
damn it, woman. My God, yeah. No, it was. We just had to go right in for Matt and Will. There was, and then afterwards, everyone was like, "What happened? What happened?" Yeah. And I was like, "It was not a thing. Like it should not have been a thing. It was not. We weren't like bad talking anybody or trying to pull strategic moves. We felt bad for Trish, and I don't know what Justin was, but yeah. So honestly, I guess it's like two indecisive women trying to come up with a game plan.
No, don't say that. No. It was Mary Ellen's fault.
Yeah.
And it's a great TV. I mean, poor Will. I feel so bad. We were just watching this episode last night because I was doing the last final touches on it. So we watched it on the television to make sure this is okay. And me and Becky just felt so bad for Will because his face, like when you don't choose him right away, he's already taken a few steps up, and you don't choose him, and he's like, his face just falls, and he takes 2 steps backwards, and he looks so upset.
Like, we're just gonna make you shake in your boots for over 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh God. And Matt was laughing so hard because Matt was like, I feel so bad. I like was jumping and skipping over and like celebrating. We're like, get over here, Matt. And then Will were like,
wait a second.
Oh, that is torturous. Oh, that's so evil. No, sorry, Will. It was nothing to it.
But the 4 of you went, and it's kind of seemed like maybe you were kind of trying to form a mini alliance in that swapped tribe. Because do you want to talk about, do you remember the things you were saying during that?
During the spaghetti?
Yeah.
No, I was really worried that the footage of me was just going to be shoving spaghetti in my mouth and not talking any game.
There's some of that disgusting eating going on. Yeah. Everyone looks the same.
I'm like, I probably look like I hadn't eaten in a week. And I'm like, it had maybe been 12 hours. So bad. Yeah, I remember feeling, you can give me some more details about it, but going into it, I remember feeling good with what we had, and because we were with Justin and we already knew that, you know, numbers were kind of off, and that was, you know, but so I don't remember feeling the need to talk a lot of strategy, but that was my feeling going into it. So I don't know what details do you have for me?
Yeah, what it seemed like was, so in your tribe was Mary Ellen, Matt, and Justin, you, Will, and Trisha. And so the 4 of you are talking, and you in your confessionals are saying like you think you can get Matt to flip because it's 3-3 and people don't want to go to rocks if you end up losing eventually, and you do. And so you said something like, I really like this group of 4, hint hint, and I hope we can work together going forward. And I also really love Trisha. And that was like basically
I said that to everybody?
No, Justin and Trisha weren't there. It was during the...
Oh, no, but I said that during spaghetti dinner.
To Will, Matt, and Mary Ellen. Yeah.
All right.
Good for you, right?
Thank you.
Will loved it. He was like, Delaney just threw Justin under the bus. Ha ha ha. Basically.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, well, Will, the second he had to like, he called Matt over. He had such good things to say about Matt right out the gate, and I didn't have anything to do with Matt before then, so I had no interactions with him, so it wouldn't have made much a difference to me. But because of how strong Will felt, that's kind of the only thing I could go off of.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, yeah, that's totally fine. And he was so close to Mary Ellen, so that obviously made sense. And Will and I were both had in with Trish, so it seemed like the easiest web to just create.
Yeah, because
that was already existent actually,
right.
And just go off of that. So
right, and you guys on the other tribe before the swap had been talking about Justin being a big threat anyway, and so it made sense for that to happen.
Yes, which I didn't even know that this was Surviving Maine was one off of a bunch of different ones. I had no idea that other people had played besides the season that I had watched. So my idea of him being a threat was that he like played hard on the field.
Yeah.
And he wasn't afraid to like throw shade at people. And yeah, he was vocal, and there was confidence in that, which obviously can be a weakness, but yeah, he stood out. So
yeah,
and that's a
definitely.
tricky place to be in, to stand out. You got to balance that out a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I mean half the people thought he was a threat because he had won other LRGs, and then the other half of people who had no idea who he was thought he was a threat because he acts like a threat.
Right, exactly. He's not hiding it.
Yeah. Like, you got to tone it down, man.
Yeah.
Don't be so good at cornhole and shit.
Yeah. Totally.
So let's talk about then when you guys lose. And it breaks my heart because Trisha is one of my best friends in real life. Yeah. But so you guys you think that you have Matt and Mary Ellen, and you do, but you don't know that Matt has found an idol right before that challenge starts. Mm-hmm. And so everything changes once he finds that idol, because before that he was willing, and Mary Ellen was 100% on board with voting out Justin. Mm-hmm. But he finds the idol and he works out this plan, and you guys don't come up with a plan B. Why not?
Oh, rookie move. Just feeling comfortable, I guess. Yeah. I guess it probably just seemed like we had it in. I don't know. I did not take in like people being able to save themselves with idol, I think, until he pulled it out. Like, I had this moment where I was like, oh yeah, like we're playing Survivor. Obviously this happens. It was this crazy blind side where I was like, it was such a dumb moment. But we didn't even discuss I don't even remember discussing a second or a plan B.
So there's a confessional where someone asks you what's the plan B in case Justin has an idol, and you look scared and you're like, we should come up with a plan B. And the person says, go. And they turn off the camera.
Oh my God.
Go come up with a plan B. And then you or Trisha or both of you bring it up to Will, and he just kind of is like, well, if he has an idol, then good for him. He beat us, which really annoyed me. Because I think Will knows, like, Justin already told Will, because they knew each other from another game, like,
yeah,
I'm not writing your name down. So Will was probably like, well, I'm safe.
Like, it's not me, idol. Right?
It's not me, so what do I care? And you and Trisha, especially Trisha, hasn't eaten in 2 days, and like her brain's not functioning well at this point. She's physically totally good, but mentally she's starting to lose it a bit, and she just can't think through, like, what should we do as a plan B? And she talks to you guys, and it's just like, nothing. We don't do anything. What can we possibly do? Well, one of you could have voted for Mary Ellen, right? Or Matt, right?
Yeah,
because you had the number.
I was also feeling kind of confident with Justin too, because he talked to me about wanting to work together, and I told him I probably would. I think I played a little bit of like I'm gonna think about it. This would be really great, but I won't say your name. Like, I think I thought I was playing him enough where I could go back on it, but definitely not what happened. So I think I was feeling a false sense of security with him as well.
So Matt and Mary Ellen vote for Justin to fool you guys into thinking that they had no idea and they were going to be on your side. When was it that you found out that they had been lying about that?
Way too late in the game, I'm pretty sure.
And was it like during final tribal council when Matt says it?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Matt didn't tell me any of his previous gameplays and other connections and alliances until we were well past the point where I could use them. Yeah.
Okay. So because you are saying, like, late in the game after the merge, like, I want to take Jess and Matt to the final. And the question was posed to you in a confessional, like, okay, if you in an ideal world, like, if you were only taking 2 people that you could for sure beat, who would you take? And you were like, Oh yeah, definitely Jess and Matt.
Oh no.
See, it's not your fault because nobody knew what Matt was doing.
Nobody
Nobody
knew.
knew.
Yeah.
Oh,
He
only
was
the jury
so
knew.
sly. He really was. And like I felt so connected with him, still do. Still do, but like I'm not that great at lying. So I was having like multiple moments where I would have to just like remove myself and like go, because I did it enough and I totally got by. But he has this way of like totally just bringing you in and making you feel like he's just putting this warm blanket and giving you some soup. Meanwhile, he's like murdering people in the kitchen and you have no idea about it. Like,
what a great metaphor. Love this.
he was so good.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until it all started coming out in the end where I was like, oh, people were playing like beyond. And I think that was one of my things where I was like, yeah, I thought I was doing a really good job and figuring my way out or figuring out my little journey and, picking up crumbs and then like trying to manipulate and politic. And then it wasn't until I got to the end where I was like, oh, there's a whole other level of gameplay that was happening that I just wasn't even tapped into.
Yeah.
So but yeah, he was amazing.
Whatever. It's funny because like I'm like I feel very connected to Matt too.
You're like, oh no.
No. He just is like that charismatic and lovely to be around, Yeah. So are you. That's the thing.
Oh, thanks.
You both have that charisma, that sparkly-eyed charisma. Someone says about you in an episode. No, I'll let you find out in the episode. It's really cute what they say. Yeah.
Oh.
About you. Okay, so let's talk about the merge.
Sure.
You get to merge. How wonderful. It finally comes because like everyone's like, when the fuck is the merge gonna happen?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
mm-hmm.
Right? It finally happens. You get to eat. You have a hot dog, right?
Yes, I do. I love hot dogs.
And you reconnect with some people that who I thought was your number one, Jess, and Andy. What was going on during that whole thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I again was like trying to play it really cool, not say a whole lot right off the bat, but throughout when we were on separate tribes, Andy and I kept making pretty hardcore eye contact whenever we'd see each other, and I could feel both of us were trying to just be like, we're good. It was like desperation. And so I think because we had just a little bit, but not as much, like I was always able to find Andy's eyes, like reciprocating the crazy eyes back. So yeah, by the time we got to merge and we checked back in after the feast, when we checked back in with each other, it was, I think, pretty brief at first, if I can remember that correctly, just to be like, we're good. This is like, these are the numbers. This is a little bit of what's happening, but we're good to keep moving forward. And yeah, that felt really solid. I felt really solid with Andy up until I knew he was trying to vote me out. I could see it all over his face.
That was later, so at the merge, he actually does really trust you because you're the only one that he tells that he played the idol. Everyone from that tribe was like, okay, we're gonna lie to everyone on the other tribe or just not say anything and make them think Andy still has the idol. And Andy lies to Will's face and like, oh yeah, I still have the idol. He tells you that he played it. And so that to me was like, okay, Andy and Delaney really do and Jess have this real alliance and they trust each other. And that was just apparent the whole way through until maybe final 6, maybe 5. Yeah. Because you're both threats. You and Andy are both threats and you're going after each other. So
yeah. And I think we both knew that. Like, I knew that it was going to happen eventually, but I knew that we could both help each other get to that point where it happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a big deal. And I remember him confiding with me about like little bits of information, and yeah, only solidified it even more. But yeah, I don't trying to recall the anyway, yes.
Okay.
Yes to solidifying our bond.
So you guys don't really have time to talk about, I mean, you're warned ahead of time, like this is the only time you're going to have to strategize, and when the challenge is over, you're going straight to tribal. So was it everyone voted the same and voted for Justin at the merge tribal? I'm just wondering, was there anything that we didn't catch where people were being more blatant about like, yeah, we need to go after Justin? Or was it just everyone just knew?
I definitely felt like he had to go because I had just showed him my cards after saying that I'd work with him, and then it was a failed attempt to get him out. So the second one, I was like, no, we have to get rid of him because like this could totally backfire if we don't get rid of him. And there's no pushback really with other people. I think did I strategize with Mike? I think a little bit on the way back to camp. And I think he was tossing around another name that I'm blanking on right now. But yeah, I remember not wanting to budge with Justin's vote out.
Okay.
Again, I didn't think it would make waves for me, and I knew that it would be worse if he didn't go when he did. So felt like an easy one.
Yeah. And it was, except for the whole knowledge is power thing, which ended up not being useful anyway because Andy had played his idol, so we couldn't steal Andy's idol.
Right.
So the next big thing that happens is the Will vote out, and that was kind of exciting. It was like kind of chaotic, that strategizing, because I think who won? It may be you that won immunity that round. Was it either you or Jess?
Which was it? The food eating challenge?
No, I think that's the next one. I think this was the ball spinning. So I think that was Jess.
Oh, that was Jess. Yeah.
I could be wrong. Oh well, who cares? I'm
almost positive that was her, because I think we won it back to back.
Okay, so that makes sense. Yes, because Will was not at the food eating challenge. Okay, that's correct. Jess wins with the ball thingy.
We vote out Will.
Yeah.
And then the next one is the food, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So it seems like Will and Dan want to work together and vote out Andy or Mike. Will is upset because he finds out Andy has lied to him, right? And he goes to you with this, and you're just kind of like, because Will thinks that Andy lied to you too, and he's like, Andy lied to both of us, and you're just like, oh yeah. So tell me what was going on in your head, because it was pretty chaotic, and Will was trying to lead this charge against somebody, and you did not end up doing that.
Yeah, that's when I definitely knew that Will and I, a lot of his strategizing was a little chaotic with people, but with this one, it was going to affect my game.
Right.
And, yeah, I felt so awkward. I felt so bad for him because I had to pretend that I was also in the same wagon with him with being lied to from Andy. But also I wasn't sure what his game was with Dan either, and I wasn't working with Dan on that one. And but Andy and I had talked about Will going home. And
tell me about that. When was that?
Leading up to the vote out, I think between that challenge and the vote out, we had discussed it, I think, lightly beforehand, just that we had to like keep him feeling comfortable, and he's like, I'm telling you this but not Will, and it was a lot of like I knew he was on the outs with both of us.
Oh, that's right. I forgot Andy told you, like, I just lied to Will. He
Yeah.
told you that too. Yeah.
Yes, okay. Yes. Yeah. No, this is good. We're helping each other
Yeah.
remember what's been happening. So it was good because I wasn't blindsided when he was like, oh, like, this is what's happening. Like, I knew it was coming, but yeah, we knew that that was probably his time to go if we could make that work, I believe. But
was Jess do you remember if Jess, who brought his name up first as like the one to get that round?
To get Will out.
Yeah. You don't remember?
I don't remember. I want to say it was probably Andy or Jess.
Okay.
But no, I don't remember.
Andy probably really wanted Will out because he had just like it came out. He wasn't expecting it to come out like that he lied to Will, and so now he's like, oh my gosh, now Will knows that I just lied to him.
Yeah, and Will was Will was targeting Andy obviously after that.
Yeah.
Or
you know what? No, Andy wanted to vote out Mary Ellen or Matt. That's what was going on. Andy's so funny. He did not want to make big moves, so it had to be Jess or Mike that it had to be. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, but I was like, but that's bad for my game too because I'm working with Matt and Mary Ellen. So I was like, no, I'm not going to tell. No, like I'm not doing that, but I'm not going to tell you that. But now you're talking to somebody who thinks that we're both working with him and Will to not that. I don't know. And then and Jess and I think Jess and Mike and I were the only ones that I was feeling like totally confident with in talking about getting Will out.
Okay.
And that's what made the most sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I was like, I'm not going to do Mary Ellen or Matt. I'm not going to go with Will's plan and try to get Andy out. Because Will also wanted to protect Mary Ellen and Matt.
This all makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then Jess and I were like, locked in. We're like, no, but it has to be Will. Like, he has to go.
Yeah. Jess wanted him out for a long time. So funny. So did you know that Will, like, you were his number one at that point and he wanted to go to the end with you and Matt? Like, you didn't know? Aw.
I think I knew. No,
okay.
I knew voting him out was going to be like heart-wrenching.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you cried. Yeah.
I think I cried like every
Yeah, maybe so.
No, that one was horrible because I went into it being like, we're gonna play such a clean game and like not. It's so hard and like you can't, and it. Yeah, I mean it worked like so, but he was so sweet and but Jess and I, we were both on the same page that like if we couldn't tell him anything. I wasn't confiding with him and about like so many other plans that we had talked about, and like, he just, I don't know, his sporadicness was getting a little too sporadic.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Poor Will.
Yeah, that was a hard one though.
Yeah. It's something that I really loved about you and Jess's relationship was that you seem to have like a telepathic communication because you were always on the same page. Like you were thinking the same things at the same time. Like each round you were like, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Did that surprise you?
I don't know. It was incredible. I don't know if it totally surprised me. I think it felt familiar, like just the relationship that I had with her felt familiar with the relationship I have with other friends outside the game. And also just being able to like find somebody who you're on that same like rhythmic energy with, where like what makes sense for you would make sense for me.
Right.
And we knew, because we always connected with, like, we know that we're playing separate games, but if we link up and kind of go like back to back with one another, like we could just try and take them out. Like that was like totally team up in like a very, I don't know. It just seemed right out the gate like it was a good duo. And from our first conversation, we kind of knew we were going to be on the same page. But it was a pretty incredible pair that, that we had. I don't know. I wasn't expecting it. I think right out the gate, I felt really connected with Trisha. But then it was kind of like you go on like a first date and you're like, wow, they're really great. And then you meet up with a second person and you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know it could get better than this. Like, so Jess was my second date and it felt like it was a better fit, I think. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. What happens next? Next is the gross food eating challenge. And this is so, you guys are just so, I hate to watch people eat anything, but like, I love this challenge so much because you and Jess are just so badass about the whole thing. And both of your faces are just like flat the whole time. Like before the challenge starts, you were both the two that were like, this is disgusting. I'm not going to last. This is terrible. And then you guys make it to the final two. It's the beautiful thing. And your face is so funny because every time Liza brings something out, you're just like breathing. Like, this is fine. It's just something I'm going to swallow.
I loved that the two of us made it to the end together. Yeah. Like looking over and seeing everyone else get knocked out and then seeing Jess remaining there, I was like, yes, like it was poetic.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I didn't think I watch, like, obviously I watch Survival and I also watch The Challenge on MTV and they do a lot of food eating challenges.
Yeah.
And whenever I watch that, I'm like, no, I'd be done.
Yeah.
There's just absolutely no way. And funny enough, everything that came out, like I totally had to get into that headspace of like, just eat it, it's fine. It was gross. It wasn't as gross as I thought it was going to be though. So I definitely like had my game face going on, but the only thing that I was questioning if I could get down was the egg at the end.
Yeah, you looked like you were struggling. That was the only time you looked like you were struggling.
Like tearing up. Yeah, that one I was like, oh, it's going to come back up. But everything else, like when I was in Mexico a couple of years ago, I was walking around trying to find crickets to eat like out of a bag. So
a lot of protein. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. I mean, granted they're dead, and fried up, but
right.
I was really worried. Like I've seen people have to drink like pints of blood and stuff like that. So I was expecting like just like eyeballs, and then I'm like, I don't know where they would get eyeballs right. Now that I think about it.
No. There's no budget for eyeballs.
No. But it was, yeah, I mean, it was definitely gross. But when I definitely got a little bit more like fire in my ass when I started hearing other people go down so easy.
Yeah.
Like they were looking, like starting to make gagging noises just looking at it. And I was like, oh, I could stay in this. Like I thought I would be the one that couldn't hang, but hearing everyone else go down, I was like, oh, no, we're okay. Which just gave me more motivation, but yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So that's your first immunity. Did you win another one?
No, that was it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I feel like you were such a challenge beast. That's surprising to me.
Kind of. When I think back to, well, I won the spaghetti challenge with Mary Ellen.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I loved winning that with her. That was, besides our whole mix up with getting people for the dinner, it was, I don't know, it was fun doing that with her. But
did you feel like you were bonded with her during that time, that hour? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And I think I love that she won because it's like people always underestimate anyone older who's playing the game.
Yeah.
And then you add sex to it, and it's like, it's just another tick on the box, you know? And so being able to stand there with her, doing that with her, I was just like, and I kept leaning into her and I was like, like, we're built to be in pain. Like, we can do this.
That's a good
And
way of
she's like,
thinking about it.
right. I was like, we're built for this. And she's like, yeah. And just seeing how calm she was just made me feel so calm. And yeah, it was, we definitely bonded during that time, even though we didn't say that much. Where the guys next to us, they're like, pivot, up, down, right, over, down.
It was a beautiful thing. Like
choreography
pressure, right,
happening.
Down, left. Like, what?
And we just kept looking over and we're like, and breathe. And back to it. Yeah. That was my only 2 challenge wins. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you have immunity and it's you're heading into the nighttime. You're headed back to the former Miko camp, which is now the Merge camp. And what are you thinking about what's gonna be happening? Do you have a target before anyone else comes to you with their target?
Yeah, I always had somebody in mind going into a vote out, or after a vote out. I had somebody in mind for who would be next for a vote out, just like a hypothetical, if this would work out type of thing. Yeah, because was that Mike's vote out?
Yeah.
The next one? Okay, yeah. So that makes sense. I'm sorry, my memory is so foggy with this.
You don't remember who you might have wanted to target other than Mike that round?
I think Dan.
That makes sense.
You
know what though? No, that's not till the next day. The next day you say you kind of want to go to the end with Dan because you think he would be easy to beat.
I did say that.
Everyone else was thinking it, so.
I did say that, yeah. Again, because I just was unsure of what was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike. Well, because let's see. It was Andy and Jess, Mary Ellen and Matt. Will had gone. Trisha's still in.
No, Trisha got voted out.
Trisha went out. Oh,
she was idled out by Justin.
Oh, my God, that was the idle out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we already. Oh my God.
We did talk about that. Your face, by the way, when Liza reads the final vote and it's Trisha, you looked so shocked. You were just like, your like face goes white, and you're like, no.
No. I didn't like how many times I was blindsided. That was not good.
Yeah.
I was definitely like, okay, we're definitely missing out on some conversations and some gameplay happening. Yeah, with Mike, again, I think my bonds with people started to just really tighten up, and I wasn't feeling as close with Mike as before. And I knew, again, that would probably be a little bit of a blind side for him. I didn't see him taking me to the end.
Yeah. He never talked about who he wanted to go to the end with, actually.
Yeah, I didn't get that feeling. Whereas Andy, I'm like, we could get really far. Matt, I just believed anything that came out of his mouth. Yeah. I was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. Mary Ellen, there was no reason for me to really vote her out unless there was like a numbers thing, and maybe I would actually decide to have a plan B at that point. I don't know. But yeah, I think Mike, again, made sense, and I wasn't feeling as close with him at that point. And yeah, I didn't see it going any further than that. Yes.
Who came to you with that? Because I don't think there's much footage of you having talks with people for that vote. It's mostly Jess telling everyone, like, we're going after Mike.
That's awesome. I think, honestly, I talked to Jess about it, and I was totally obviously feeling safe because I was
We're
my
safe.
idol because I was safe. But yeah, she told me that, and I was like, boom, yep, that makes sense. So there was no reason for me to question it. I was feeling that way as well. And yeah, I felt pretty secure with my connections that they would. And there wasn't really, I didn't think there was any reason for anyone else to keep him in. So I didn't think there was going to be that much of a pushback.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really feel like I don't really feel like a lot of strategizing on my end would have done anything except for put more of a target on my back if I had kept talking.
And if you had kept talking, it would have been to target Dan more. Who else would you go after?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it would have been Dan, which I think people were either seeing, like what you said, take him to the end or just keep him as a number.
Yeah.
Later down the line.
Okay, so Mike goes that night, and then you're around the fire that night after that, and a rock gets moved, and you see something.
Oh my God, that was so good. Yes. Yeah. I was right next to Jess. Thank God. That was, again, talk about poetic moments with Jess. That was so beautiful. Yeah, I don't even know what I was doing with the rock. We must have just maybe a little bit of reorganizing.
There was these two sticks holding up like another stick, and you wanted to move them out of the way, so you had to move the rocks. And
yep.
Those rocks were holding up the stick. Yeah.
Right. Our little drying rack, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were moving that, and we both saw it at the exact same time.
Yeah.
And I think I would have told her about it anyway, so I wasn't upset that I saw it with her. It was almost like a relief that we could do that together. And I put my foot on it right away, I believe, and she swiped it and slid it under something behind me, and then I was able to go back and grab it and shove it in my pocket until I could get it into my bag. Nice. But it was very swift maneuvering, and it happened pretty quickly.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And then there was no question if I was like going to work with her on that or not. I think we both felt very comfortable that we were going to use that to both of our advantage, which we did.
Which you did. Oh, so excited. I just finished editing the episode where you play it, and I had so much fun making that tribal council because it's so exciting. Oh, it was so great just being there and witnessing it. I was like, and the whole jury.
I'm glad it came across like that. I was panicked.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's the footage of me up in the voting booth during that time.
Oh yeah,
but it was like good.
Oh yeah, I saw it. Yeah, it's so cute. This didn't make the episode, but you get up to vote and you say, I just needed a moment to think. And the person behind the camera, which I think is Sam, says, think out loud. It was so cute. I loved it. And then you're like, okay. And so you just start talking about like, what are all the scenarios of what could happen right now, right? Because we're skipping ahead, but that's fine. Because that people might be putting the votes on you because you had been a target before the round before, and I hate that we're skipping ahead, but whatever.
We can come back.
No, we need to get through this.
Okay.
You're saying that, and then you're like, but then if I play my idol for Jess and we vote for Mary Ellen, but then you're like worried, like, what if Jess votes for me? What if Jess is gonna vote for me instead? Oh my gosh. That's like your main point of panic because Matt has already told you like we're voting for Jess. So you're pretty confident they'll be voting for Jess. But you're worried because if Jess votes for you, then you might be screwed if you play the idol for her.
Yeah.
So why did you end up playing it for her? Like, what was it that made you feel good about that?
Yeah. Ooh. Talk about a little bit of faith on that one. Yeah, I think it was totally like in the moment, I was like, well, I have to pick to do one or the other. And I was like, if I go out trying to save her and I get blindsided, then I go out and, you know, it is what it is. But I was like, if I stay and I don't do a big move and I get her out and I go along and I keep this idol for myself. Oh no, because I think it was the last time
I had to play it. Yeah.
Well, so if I use it on myself, right. If I use it on myself in that moment, like, cool, I saved myself. Like, I got an idol, I saved myself, and I send my number one home.
Right.
Like, okay. I was like, or I play it for her and it gives me like something for the end of the game. And then I know she would have to take me to the end if she got to the end. Well,
Delaney, she wanted to anyway. Like,
right. I was like trusting that too, but yeah. I was like getting that far, and in that split second, like, you think that everything, you know, you're like, no, I'm solid, and super confident in this, and then getting up there having to make that choice, you're like, I didn't know nothing. Like, it all went out the window is what it felt like. Yeah, I think it came down to like, there's a slight chance that I could win this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to like add a little bit to my resume if I could, and also possibly save the person that I told I'm going to end up telling everyone I was working with from the beginning. And I think that's a better gameplay than just saving yourself.
Yeah. I mean, and yeah, you're lucky because the two people you wanted to take to the end were the two people who said they wanted to take you to the end as well. Matt and Jess were both in every confessional like, I'm going to the end with Delaney. So good for you.
Thanks. I think that's what most of my like indecisiveness was that's why I was so indecisive with so many people, because I was trying really hard to like feel out where I was like locked down and who I was locked down with, and I wasn't willing to trust what people were saying to me, so I really had to feel that out over time. And I was looking back on it, I'm like proud of myself to be able to figure out the two people that felt the same way, and we just like were able to socially navigate that, which is pretty cool. But yeah.
It was a beautiful thing. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to that morning after you found the idol. You're feeling good because you have the idol. You guys seem to be saying like, okay, at this point, the biggest threat is Andy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about this. Why did you all think Andy was the biggest threat?
First, because I didn't know any of Matt's gameplays.
That is like, that aside, like, of course nobody did. No one's gonna think Matt's the biggest threat.
Right.
Understood. Yeah. But you, and to me as an observer, you and Jess are the biggest threats that people would know about, right? Mary Ellen seems more like a Dan. Dan and Mary Ellen seem like the goats you could drag to the end and would get 0 votes. Love them both, but they didn't play the same level of game that everyone else was playing. Andy, a lot of people, Mike, Dan, for example, saw Andy as the guy who kept making really bad moves and who didn't want to make any big moves. The only way he was a threat was through challenges that he kept winning, right? So was it more for you that, I'm not going to give you choices on why he was a threat. What was it about him that you thought he was a threat, and other people too, not just you?
Beyond the challenges, like, it would be hard for the people who we want, because I knew he wasn't going to take me to the end. And so that was like, so if he kept winning, I wasn't going to go to the end because he'd pick people that he could sit with. And I knew that he wasn't going to take the people that I wanted
in the end.
And like, so that wasn't going to work out. And also his social game was really good, like in a sense that people just liked him and like people liked to be around him. And so he was socially accepted by everybody. He had a lot of friends and kind of like, maybe not game wise, and he was a presence, like his presence was known in the room that we weren't in, but you know what I mean. And he was winning his challenges, all of them. So it didn't, I think at that point it was like, well, if we want to be able to have any pull in how we create our perfect end to this game and get, like, even if it wasn't the three of us, Matt, Jess, and I, it could be people who we felt like we could beat more, like Mary Ellen or Will.
Yeah.
And I think I had less confidence in beating Andy, which maybe I should have had more confidence. I don't know. And when he got out, he's like, I don't know why you thought I was a threat. And I was like, well, seriously? I was like, I didn't know I could have beat you, but
what you said before, though, like if I was a jury member and I asked you that question, you gave the answer that is exactly what I would have wanted to hear for you to get my vote, right? Because you saw him as a threat, partly because he was winning challenges and he was not taking you or the two other people you wanted to go to the end with to the end. And that's the exact reason that you should have been gunning for him. And so yes, correct answer.
Yeah, solid.
Okay.
I know it's hard to answer these without being like, oh, well, it felt right. And it's like, why did it feel right?
Where's the feeling coming from?
No, thank you for pulling that out.
Good. So this round he fucking wins again, right?
No.
It's so funny because like Andy's someone I really like, and like he's just a lovable guy, but I just couldn't root for him at that point. I was just like, oh, he fucking won, god damn it. Like, I don't know why. It's like, I don't know, something about the straight man that I just don't ever want to root for. So he wins and it's you're in big trouble, right? And you know it. You can I love this too. Him and Dan are talking to you, and you, after your talks with both of them, go to Jess and Mary Ellen and you're like, they just lied straight to my face. Like, you knew they were lying to you.
Yeah, the whole time.
How did you know?
Oh, it's written all over them. And like, why wouldn't they have, like it just made sense. And they weren't really, like, they were making sense and they had their game plan, which I can't even remember the exact details of what their game plan was, but it didn't make as much sense as it would have for them to have voted me out. Like, and
I think they were telling you Mary Ellen and you were just like, why would they do that?
Yeah. And it was written, their eye contact was horrible.
Yes. Yeah.
It was so bad. Neither of them could look me in the eye. I felt like I was like looking up at them, like, really?
That's the key. People are not like Matt and you could stare people directly in the eye and lie. You did it a lot less, I'll give you that. But like, if you can't look at people in the eye, they're gonna know that you're lying to them.
And for people who the whole game were working together, so I know what you sound like. Yes. Like, I've picked up on all the things that you do to other people, and I know how you talk to me when you're telling me the truth because you've been confiding in me about things.
Right.
So I know what you feel like when you're being honest, and like, that was not it at all. Yeah. So no, they totally missed the mark on that one. But they tried.
They tried. Yeah. They failed. So I'm curious about how this ended up working out the way it did, other than Matt working some magic. Were you and so the last conversation that happens right before Liza calls people over is you, Jess, Dan, and Matt are standing there, and you're like confirming with Dan the fake plan that he had been telling you guys, which was we're voting Mary Ellen, right? Were you ever going to vote Mary Ellen? No. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
No. that wouldn't have made sense.
You had been planning to vote for Dan because you and Jess were talking the whole time like we're voting Dan, and it was something like you were not happy about it because you knew you could beat Dan. Jess wasn't happy about it because she knew that Dan saw her as his number one. So that's like a number for her that she would be losing, but it's like late enough in the game, it doesn't matter. And then Matt is telling you guys like actually Mary Ellen wants Delaney out because she thinks she can beat Dan in the end. Mary Ellen was another person who was like, I can beat Dan. I don't want him out at all. So what was it that made you guys stick with that plan of voting for Dan? You thought you had Matt. So were you expecting it to be a tie?
Yeah, and I think I was honest with Matt about the direction we were going in, and he was like, okay, well, obviously I'm not going to say her name.
Yeah.
And because I was like, you were honest about no, now I'm jumping ahead. Never mind. I switched it up.
Oh, that's later. Yeah.
That's later. Yeah. Which he also said, he was like, you were honest with me about this, and now I'm being, so we used that together. But yeah, I didn't want to say Matt's name, and I wasn't gonna say Jess's name. And talking to Matt, I think
he was on board to
no,
go
but if it
Dan.
went to a tie, then and then only the three of us would have voted, right? Andy, Matt, and no, the four of us.
Okay.
Mary Ellen and Dan couldn't vote.
Correct. Oh, wait.
Right?
Okay. Wait. No, it would be you. It would be you couldn't vote. It would be because it would have been 3 on you, 3 on Dan.
Yeah.
That's what would have happened.
Yep.
But you just went for it anyway. Were you like, I'm just curious.
Oh, no, I definitely, no. I trusted Matt and Mary Ellen. I knew that if we weren't targeting Dan, I didn't trust that I was going to stay.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Did you think Matt was going to be able to get Mary Ellen to vote for Dan? Is that what was going on? What ends up happening,
yeah,
I know this is hard to remember. Matt you guys are lined up to go into tribal. Matt says to Mary Ellen, I think it's going to be you. You should really play your shot in the dark. And he only tells her that because he doesn't want her to vote. Right? Because he doesn't want you to go. Because he, in his confessionals, is saying, like, I want to take Delaney to the end because if I don't win, I want her to win, which is so cute. And I agree. Although I was also really rooting for Jess too, one of my favorites. So my favorite final 3 ever in the world is you guys. So then he tells you, no. Jess turns around. You guys are right in front of him. Jess turns around and says, are you going to play your idol? He hears that. And he's like, oh. Well, anyways, you don't need to play your idol because Mary Ellen isn't going to vote. She's playing her shot in the dark. We can all vote for Dan. I'm just wondering, what if that hadn't entered his mind as like, oh my gosh, I can do this. I can get her to not vote. What if he hadn't done that? It would have been 3-3 on you and Dan.
Yeah.
You might have played your idol, I think.
Yeah. Of course I was, yeah.
You're like, what's going on? What happened?
Of course I would have. That was definitely on my mind.
Okay.
And yeah, having that, I think, was like a little bit of a safety, but I didn't want to use it. And I felt better that we could get Dan out, and I don't think I saw a reason why we couldn't do this. Besides the fact that, like, we could beat him, but all of us had stronger ties in the game.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I would have, if I felt even less confident than I did, I think I would have played my idol.
That round, Matt was really trying to get it to be Jess instead of you. He wanted Jess out like the whole time. He knew
Really?
she was a threat. Yeah. It's funny. Yeah. So yeah, he couldn't make that happen. He was like, why doesn't Delaney want Jess out?
I was like, nope, never happening.
Yeah. He's like, she's not going for this. Okay, so you make it through that, and then it's the whole thing where you're the target again. Andy wins again. Does he win again?
He won like so
A
many
lot.
times in a row.
Yeah, it was his third time. It was his second time in a row winning. Oh yeah, because it was a slingshot.
Oh.
Yeah, everyone was so sad about it. And you got that clue.
Oh. Oh,
So
that was the
mad.
most anticlimactic clue. I felt like the skies were like opening up and they delivered like an already opened M&M bag.
Yes, that's empty. That's empty.
Are you kidding me?
Liza didn't tell any of us what it was. And so I was like, I was doing your confessional and you were opening it up and I was like, ooh, what is it? And you're like, oh, it's just this. And I was like, what the fuck is that? Real? That's not an advantage.
I was like, I literally just got a note that says like, you have a car ride home at the end of the game. Like,
I wonder, I should ask Liza. I should give her the benefit of the doubt. I wonder if it was like, more of a thing that it could be like a secret thing, like, so no one knows what it is. Maybe it's an extra vote, like, but you just went and told everybody because you're like, I'm no fool. I'm not going to be seen as a bigger thret.
Absolutely not. And it wasn't anything to keep a secret. Like, I didn't even have to come up for a lie. I just was like, guys, it is what it is. But yeah, and Andy was totally doing this like thing where he's like, I told you, like, see, like, we're good together. Like, I let you know, and I kind of turned the phone, and I'm like, I appreciate that, but I know you still want to get me out, so not quite gonna work.
Right. So then we have the very exciting tribal where you play your idol for Jess. The jury is gasping, they're gagging, they can't believe it. And then like your name was the first vote Liza reads because Andy voted for you anyway. And they're like, oh my God, oh no, she's gonna go home. And then you don't. So it's just very exciting and wonderful.
Yeah.
How did you feel as those votes were being read? What was there a roller coaster of emotions going on?
Yeah, I was shaking. I was totally shaking. And I also knew I was going to be disappointing Matt because I was blindsiding him.
Yeah.
That council. And I knew he was going to like respect it at the end of the day as a fellow game player. But I knew that our relationship was going to be rocky for maybe just that, a couple hours. But well, I wasn't that concerned.
Yeah, and you shouldn't have been. I mean, because you had a conversation with him where he was saying, it'll be good for you if Jess is on the jury because that's a vote for you, just like if Mary Ellen's on the jury, that's a vote for me. So he was saying, like in his last confessional, he did that round. He was saying, like, if Mary Ellen goes home, that's fine. I want her in the end with me, but if she's on the jury, she's gonna vote for me.
It is what it is, right?
So
and it would benefit him in the end.
Yeah, and I think he like shook your hand or something during that, and he was like, "Good play." Like there was never a moment where he was like, "That fucking Delaney screwed me over."
No.
Yeah.
It was totally like, "All right, I see you." Like,
yeah,
good job. Like we both had to play our individual games, and we both knew that something like that was gonna happen at some point. Right. Because like he was talking about voting on my number one, so I was like, no,
exactly,
not gonna happen. Like you're playing your own game right now, so I have to play mine.
Eye for an eye, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was fun. It was really fun making a move and like playing Survivor. Like that's what Survivor feels like. I felt like in that moment, so it was cool. And like playing, just it's a little bit of a gamble, which was
it was risky.
It was risky. Yeah.
I love when a risk pays off. It's so much fun.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so next is the final challenge. What? God. Tell us about that, because it looked like you kind of could have been in it. Everybody was done getting their puzzle pieces,
and I left.
You and Jess and Matt all had to run back and get more because you forgot you didn't go to every station.
Yeah, and then I left a second time, which I didn't need to do. It was it was so embarrassing. Oh, no. I was like, maybe there's more. My brain was so shot by that point, and I was looking because I was like, this is going to be an idiotic moment once you see it. Like I was just trying to come at it from that point. I'm like, simplify. Once you see this, you're going to feel dumb. We're not putting it together. And yeah, it was, and it always comes down to the puzzle. It doesn't really matter what physical obstacles you set up before that puzzle. It always comes down to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so, that was a very frustrating thing. And yeah, finding my other puzzle pieces, I was like, I'm gonna put it together, because I made a few words happen. And then I was not confident in it at all, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, there has to be something missing. There is just no way I can make words with what is in front of me right now. And going back, and that's when Matt won. It was when I was running around the field looking for non-existent puzzle pieces.
Oh
and
my
Matt won.
God.
And I was like, this is so embarrassing.
Oh.
Yeah.
But so how did you feel when Matt won? Were you dejected, or were you happy no one else won? Like, did you feel confident he was going to take you?
Honestly, the second he won was when my confidence was lost. Like right when they announced him as a winner, I was like, I don't know. I actually have no idea. And kind of similar to when I got up to the voting booth with my idol, I was like all set to go. And then the second it came down to that, I was like, nope, I could be wrong about everything.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they called him and I was like, oh my God, I think he might take this. But I was still so confident in my game because I had no idea what he was doing. So I was like, as long as I get to that final.
Yep. Yeah.
But and then when he walked up to me and was kind of like, so I think like this, I'm definitely gonna take Jess, and I think having you and Andy go to fire. He goes, I think you can take him, and I think this would be a really great way for you to get on the jury. And I like, it made sense for his game to say that, but I was also like, but also like, of course I'd like to go out and fire. Like that's, if not go out, get into the jury, win with fire.
Get into the final three, not the jury. Not the jury.
Get into the final three with fire. Like, ideally, but also I wanted my in. But the more I thought about it, I was like, I don't know if I obviously didn't win, but I was like, I don't know if I even could have won if he took me. So I think it still, I don't know. I mean, what I would have done differently is not in those moments, but it made sense for him, and I think it made sense for me. I was not, I'm like confident in my fire making skills, but again with Andy, he was just winning so many things and he just seemed good at everything that I was like, maybe I don't know how to make a fire.
You were both so good at making fire. Everyone was like, oh, this is gonna be good. Like, we have no idea who's gonna win this. And
we had actually built a fire together at camp one night. And again, poetic.
Yeah.
And I think one of our first challenges that we teamed up.
The first immunity challenge, the last thing was fire, and it was you, Andy, and Will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I let them take it. I was like, I don't need to be a hero in this moment. And so I just like, I think I was just the wind blocker.
Yeah.
During that challenge, which was totally fine with me. But yeah, I was nervous, and Matt was hyping me up. He's like, I really think you can take this. I really think you can take this. And I was like, anything can happen. And I want to be in the final three. So I was a little butthurt, but also excited for yet one more exciting challenge, I guess.
And it was exciting. It was super close, and you won. How did it feel to win?
I felt it burning off all my arm hairs. It was I was driving home and I was like, oh, I have no arm hair anymore. Oh, shit. Oh no, it was amazing. And that's like, yeah, going out to play for the weekend, I was the most comfortable with sleeping outside, building fires, like being in the elements. That was part of the reason why I was going out there. Just so I could do that. So leading up to the fire, I was just kind of like, okay, well, like this is this isn't your skill set, and like you pride yourself in doing this on a regular basis. So I'm like, if there's ever a time to show up, it's it's right now. And then after winning, it was yeah, of course it felt really good, and it felt good to finally take him out in the most important moment to take him out, and it felt just like justice was served. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to talk about the final tribal council at all, or what do you?
Yeah, it was again blurry. Trying to gather your thoughts beforehand was wild. I remember Jess and I just making eye contact for like a brief moment, and her and I were just like
across the field from each other. Like,
yeah, and she's laying down, Matt's like laying down. We were both just, all three of us were just absolutely done for.
Yeah.
And yeah, you have no idea what they're gonna throw at you. And again, kind of like now, could not recall anything that had happened. I was trying to think of all my gameplays, and there was only just like, and I'm like, no, I know that I was leading the vote out for this, but like, how was I leading it? And trying to keep like all the little intricate pieces of, well, I said it to this person, and then they said it to this person. It's like, those are the things where I look back on. I'm like, I would have tried to pay more attention to the intricate details of how everything happened. Because like saying, oh no, I wanted this person out and they went out, people are like, great, a lot of people did, but I'm like, no, I didn't. I just cannot remember how to explain all this, but I was in all your heads, and I know I was. But it just, yeah, so that was pretty frustrating. During final tribal, just not being able to recall all the details of everything. But yeah, and then having Matt's game just like unfolds in front of us during,
how did that feel?
Oh my God, I was amazed and frustrated.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I thought I had it in the bag a little bit more. And especially after winning Fire, I was like, that's such a cool thing to just have. So I was like on my high horse, and then listening to all his little intricacies, I was like, this kid is amazing. And he had been like, my game was like picking up, and I feel like his game was just, there was like all these movements happening throughout it. And then maybe at the end of the game you could see it more, but he had been playing since the very beginning, and like you can't go back and beat somebody like that, because but so I was really happy that Mike gave me his little his vote. I still have that hanging up, my one vote. Matt held on to that for me, but yeah, I was extremely proud of him. I felt bad because I was realizing as we were talking, like, because I was unsure if I could beat Jess, and then as we were talking, I was kind of like, I was feeling more confident about that, and I did not see that happening as much as it did. Like, I thought her and I were really neck and neck.
So did I. Yeah.
And then as we were talking, I was like, oh, I think I actually might have a little bit more on her than I thought I did.
I mean, I think the only thing with Jess is that she wasn't good at articulating her game, and she must have just felt all this pressure in that moment. She couldn't say anything. Like, there was a lot she could have said, but she couldn't think of anything to say that she should have said, so she could have got a vote or two as well, but you were just better at talking at that point.
Which is interesting, because I don't feel like that was a strong suit of mine during that time.
I mean, Matt had you both blown out of the water, right? Like, yeah. And how were you, either of you, to know that he was going to be able to do that? So.
Right, exactly. And that was wild too, kind of seeing him, like, we're like connecting on everything, and then having him sit next to us just unleashed this like other beast it was just incredible to watch. But yeah, I was really happy that he won.
Yeah, I think, yeah, how could you not be, right? I mean, oh, an amazing game. It's something that we've never seen on CBS Survivor, really. Like, no one has played that kind of game.
Right.
Yet.
Yeah, he's so unique in that.
Yeah.
And I think I played like the things that I wanted to happen on Survivor for myself, like they happened. And like obviously I'd want to win, of course, but I feel like for my individual game to be able to beat who I thought was a top player, to beat him out in fire at the end, I was like, no, that's like my little win that I got to have, which was perfect for me. But and then he got to take the rest of it, which I was like, that's good. It worked out perfectly, I think.
So if you could go back, what is the one thing, like what's your one regret? What's the one thing you would change if you could?
Not to repeat myself, but I think playing a little bit harder earlier on and like using the tools like the idols or the knowledge is power just better. I didn't really know what to do with the knowledge is power, and I didn't know if like looking back on it, I don't know if I could have used it strategically with other people. I know Will was like trying to like give his coins away to or his fire tokens away to people to be like, this is like, I trust you. And I think although it was a little ambitious at first, like those are game plays to be set up for later on. Like, this is what I did for you, and now you're like building a jury. So I think I was relying a little too hard on my relationships and my like nice conversations with people and like being able to laugh with people, and I was relying on that a little bit more than I should have been, and where I should have been relying on a little bit of a heavier gameplay to help balance it out.
I give that answer an F.
Oh no.
You didn't know you were being graded? Delaney, I think all those things like were like, that's how you got far. That's like the only reason you didn't win is because Matt, you like, no one knew Matt had been building up this whole jury of people who knew what he was doing.
Right.
That's the only reason you didn't win. So you like, I'm saying this because like, if you play again, don't change anything. Like, don't change any of those things. Now, the clue in the glass vase, if you could have done something with that, okay, like,
right,
okay, good point. Maybe you could have made people believe that it was like immunity for any two people you choose, and you and Jess are immune, and like, so what are you gonna do now, guys? Right?
Yeah. Well, thank you. I do see that. I do. And that's funny. Matt said the same thing. I was like, I don't know. I think I was a little too this. And he's like, no, that's why we both made it. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. He's like, all the things that you were insecure about is why we made it to the end. And I was like, oh,
wow.
isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
Him and I were both having insecurities together. We were all like, oh, we were hanging out in Boston, and I was like, we were like, well, we both do this, and this is really awkward that we do this. And he's like, but that's why we almost, like, that's why I won, and that's why you almost won. And I was like, so yeah, I do agree. I think if I do another one, which I really want to, I think knowing what I know now and like how it works a little bit better and just being a little bit more comfortable with it, maybe those things would naturally just occur because I'd have more knowledge with it. But yeah, as far as anything specific, I don't think so. I think I would have shut down Mary Ellen a lot faster in that moment when we were picking who we eat spaghetti with.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think that's it, and I would have been more diligent with my ticks because I got Lyme after.
Oh
But
my God, I know. I heard that. I was so upset. Like, no, she got fucking Lyme disease. Like,
isn't
of
that
course someone did.
wild?
Oh,
It
are
was
you
so
okay?
Oh, totally. Absolutely. Yeah. It's like, it's comical at this point because going on, that was my biggest fear was getting
I know.
that.
Delaney, there's so many clips that I was watching after I found out where you're like, not today, Lyme disease, like picking ticks off yourself. And I was just like crying, like, oh no, she was wrong. She got it.
The ticks are like, yes, today.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God. No, it was the best. It was the best experience besides that.
Yeah. Did they catch it in time? You're like all like fine now. Okay, good.
Yeah, everything's good. I did all my rounds of like antivirals or
Nice.
whatever. Yeah, all that
Yeah.
stuff. But
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
so came home with a little something
Yeah.
to remember you guys by.
I came home with COVID. I don't know who the
I
fuck gave it to us.
You got it in the car ride home.
From Becky. And Becky got it from someone there.
No.
Oh my God. Yeah, Trisha and me got it from Becky in the car ride home. Yeah.
Oh God, what a way to end it.
I know. Stupid May.
Were you guys okay? Was it a bad one?
It wasn't bad at all, actually.
Good.
Yeah. It was
Good.
barely anything. I had a cold earlier that year that was way worse. So yeah.
There you go.
Okay, well golly. Are we done? Did we say everything? Did you say everything you wanted to say?
I think so. Yeah. There's I wish my memory was more on the ball with all this stuff.
I mean, you're the last interview, and the season is premiering in 5 days. So most other people did their interviews over the summer, but you're a slacker. You and Matt, actually, I just did a couple weeks ago, or a week ago or something. So yeah. So it's gonna be hard.
Apologize for that.
No, it was hard for people in July and August to remember things. So yeah. Nobody
Matt
remembers.
he kept sending me messages from people for like hangouts, and then he's like, no one knows your number or anything, and I was like, oh, if there's anything important, just like forward it my way. And then I got something for an interview, and I was like, oh, an interview. I was like, what is this?
Yes.
And he's like, it's a podcast thing, and I was like, a podcast thing? He's like, get it together.
No, I specifically requested like him and Mary Ellen, because Mary Ellen she's the only one who hasn't done one.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not, I don't think she's going to. I don't think she doesn't like talking that much, and she's just a sweet woman, so I don't think she wants to do this.
Not gonna trash anybody. Yeah,
I'm not gonna keep pushing her.
Yeah,
but you know, you're not like on Facebook with a bunch of other people, so that's how I've been contacting people.
Yeah, that makes
sense. I asked
sense.
Matt to reach out to you. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. There's not much else to it. It was the most fun I've had in a really long time, and I looking back on it, like we were so dramatic with the food, like with not eating. Like we didn't eat, but I won every food challenge. And when I got back, I was like, I'm starved. I ate the morning we went on that I drove up. I remember talking to Jess, and I was like, oh, what'd you have for breakfast? And she's like, oh, I just stopped at Dunk's on the way up and like got a coffee. I ate like an 8-ounce steak with eggs and like this huge plate of veggies, some like yogurt on the side. Like I was amping up for this. I don't think I went hungry the entire time. And looking back, I'm like so dramatic about the food. I'm like, I think everything when you're there is just so heightened that feels so much bigger than it was. But no, it was great.
I hope you do it again. There's a lot of games that are casting. I know Brandon's game might still be casting too in Maine. So you should apply.
Yeah. I can do that right after I do this one.
There are no rules. You know fucking Justin played 3 games that summer.
Are you serious?
He's a psychopath.
There's no stopping that man.
No.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, I saw that you guys were casting for
Surviving Maine is, I'm actually not going to be part of it, but I will be making the episodes. Yeah.
Oh,
I just won't
so
be
you'll
there to
see it.
film. Yeah. Because it
Mm.
was a lot for me. And also me and Becky are I've never played, and me and Becky are gonna play this summer. So not Surviving Maine, but a different one. So
Oh, that's so exciting.
yeah, I think I hope that I have fun.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
have the sparkly eyes that you have. I don't have that kind of charisma, but I have other things, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just honestly, that's what I went into it doing. I was like, I'm just going to enjoy myself and like
Yeah.
see what I can do. And like if the skills that I have in regular life can work here. It's like
Mhm.
you get to just put yourself to the test.
Yeah, and you did a great job. You passed the test. Like, let's be
Thank you.
honest.
Thank you. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. Thanks so much. Yeah, I left feeling more confident in the things that I needed to. And
Good.
I think it's a good, if anyone is ever feeling like they need to assess how they're doing in like work or relationships or literally anything, like playing a game like this, if you have access to it, is such a good tool for that. And you get like, because when else would you test out all those
Yeah.
things while being exhausted and hungry and being in like unknown elements? And I don't know, I feel like it's just like one of the best tools to use for yourself if you're feeling like you need to like reset or anything like that, because there's like it's low risk. You just
Yeah.
play a bunch of games with adults who have similar interests. Like it's the best.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that, there was a confessional you did where you got kind of emotional, and you talked about that you were doing this to put yourself to the test in a different way than you do when you go out camping, like in the cold and stuff, and that you wanted to be more confident. I think it wasn't, or more assertive, I think, with people, and not apologize. I think you said something like that. So have you found that it was helpful for that?
Yeah, I did. When I ended up yeah, I took a lot of that home with me. And I find myself now having to like remind myself about those feelings, because you
Mm.
know, like as much work as you do, the for like all that time spent away from it, you kind of tend to fall back into like old habits and old insecurities and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, so I have to keep reminding myself about my time there. But yeah, it helped immensely. And I got out of I'm not bartending anymore,
Oh.
which feels really good, because I think that was also a part of the whole like there's one of my really good friends, Hannah, who bartends. She's like my idol, and she just stands her ground with everything. And I'm always like, I just want to be more like Hannah.
Okay.
Just tells it like it is. And she's incredible at it. And I've just never been able to get that oomph. And I'm like, well, I don't think I even need to be in this scene doing it. And I can use those skills elsewhere and not have to cater to people. And I think doing a job where you're catering to people just kind of creates that type of personality if you're already prone to that. So I think getting out of that scene was like one step in the right direction.
Amazing.
And doing things
Congrats.
for yourself is always just the best thing in the world. So yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's been about 2 hours.
Oh
and
my
I
God.
told you I wouldn't. I told you I wouldn't. I'll try not to take more than 2 hours. Most of the podcasts are 2 hours. Don't worry, you're not like
Okay.
you didn't talk more than anybody else.
Good.
I think Will's was close to 3 hours. So you know.
Oh, I love it. Oh, it's so good. Did he get married? I need to call him.
I don't think they're married yet. No,
Oh.
I met his fiance. I was up in Boston for I was there for work, and it was during the finale of last season of Survivor. So a bunch of us got together, and he was there with his fiance at Jess's house. Actually, yeah, it was super fun. Yeah. She's so short. She's like my height, and he's, super tall. So it's
So
like
tall. Oh my
interesting.
God. The
How does
pictures
that
he
work?
was showing me, I was like, oh, they're so perfect
Yeah.
together. Yes. I'll have to reach out. But
Yeah.
yeah, this was really nice.
Yeah, thank you so much for
Yeah,
taking these
thank
2
you.
hours of your time to talk to me. And this will come out after the finale.
Yeah, it's been fun to relive it. Thank you.
Good, good. Yeah. Nice to talk to you again, Delaney.
Yeah, you too. Talk soon, I hope.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, that was my interview with Delaney. It was so good to talk to her. She's just such an easy person to talk to, and you know that's why she made it so far. Partly, also she's pretty good at Survivor. All right, you know what? We have one more podcast left, and that will be with the winner of Surviving Maine Season 3, and that will be dropping tomorrow. So be on the lookout. We can be found on YouTube and Apple Podcasts and Spotify and also Anchor. So don't forget to listen. Bye.